Folks, just did my last Facebook Live warning about the retribution of the United States, quiet retribution. Say no more. Ogdensburg, 1940, historic landmark North American military alliance came to an end today, quietly announced by the Pentagon. And folks, while Donald Trump is the executive, this is done entirely by the Pentagon, the United States military complex. They're canceling Canada's membership in the board. It's a joint board, Canada, USA. Ontario, you have the PRESCOTT-Ogdensburg Bridge. Ontario to New York. That is historic. That's landmark. That's Roosevelt. That's World War II. That was the absolute transformation from UK under King George VI, that you would honor USA, you would do this with USA, you would go forward. And what did you do May 16th? What did Premier Daniel Smith do May 16th? UCP's gone. They're the United Communist Party of Alberta. And everybody who runs out to get memberships into that party, where Daniel Smith now has military and security clearance in Canada under a Chinese binding MOU against the United States, against NORAD. You know that we were trying to do fly the kite across the canyon. Well, Trump just ended that bridge, Prescott-Ogdensburg Bridge. Snap of a finger like that. Because I assure you all Ontarians, all Canadians, that bridge was built for military defense. That was the union of our two countries, a binding military union that is huge, huge. It goes back to King George VI. It was monumental under Churchill. There was a meeting that subsequent came after that bridge. That meeting came for the Atlantic Charter, 1941. Canada, you have no idea where you're going. You're going straight to hell. Straight to hell. I don't apologize for being extremely ashamed of Albertans today. All of you, my people, that's where I'm from. I am completely disgusted and ashamed with all of you who are willingly going forward in this, willingly ignoring the binding MOU signed by Premier Daniel Smith and Mark Carney, transitioning us to communist China. Are you incredibly sick, demented, and evil, or what? You are the most pathetic Canadians have ever been. There's never been a generation of Canadians as pathetic as the Canadians today. And I'm telling you, quiet punches out of nowhere, just crack. I told you in that video, Donald J. Trump, and it's not even just Donald J. Trump, this is the military complex Pentagon. This is the military think tank responding. You haven't seen nothing yet with the subsequent Democrat and Republican congressional committee reports coming in the next 6 months. This country is so screwed. So screwed. We are losing NORAD. Can you comprehend that? We've just been, no sooner had I finished my last video, during my video, they were already releasing quietly. Your news media is going, yeah, well, we were suspended from a joint military board that is the entire fusion of our Canadian armed forces and the U.S. armed forces together for North American protection. Canada's been suspended. USA's taking it all itself unto itself, saying, you must increase, you must do the Arctic initiatives, and you're not going to do that with fusion of China. I give a meme for all of you. I told you what that MMU would mean. Bound binding MMU resolution that is economic transition from North America unification to Chinese domination of Canada. In your highest critical mineral energy sectors, building the Chinese military complex deadly against the United States. You're finished with your inclusion of enriched uranium. You're done. You're done. This country is done. The Prescott Ogdensburg Bridge is done. Canadians, that's the symbolism here. I did the symbolism Americans try. You got to fly that kite, Dave, the historic story of Canadians over Niagara. And that historic truth of Canadians and Americans. And then with the fail swoop, you allowed Daniel Smith and Mark Carney. Daniel Smith, who's got Chrystia Freeland's Deputy Prime Minister, Security and Military Clearance. Think about that, Albertans. Are you this inept? You're really great at talking about liberals or this, liberals that. What about the fusion of the Conservatives? Because America sees it. They're done with all of you, and they're punishing Ontario first. Yeah, that's the strategy. Go ahead, Mark. Go out there amongst all the regions. You know, Ontario's supposed to be the center, right? We'll just smash your center into the dust. Ontarians, you will pay the price for everything liberals and conservatives are doing to transition to China. You, the bulk of the population, you, and even Quebec. Quebec doesn't know it yet, but they're going to be getting a beating. America's just waiting for the results of this fall election with Quebec independence. They've already seen what Albertans are willing and going to do. Now they want to see Quebec. What are Quebecois? I'm going to reach out to Plamond, and that has to happen very, very quickly because Canada's done. And the beating is now entirely on Ontario. It's entirely on Ontarians. Every step everyone in Canada does in Chinese fusion will be bore and brunted to Ontario only. You will be crushed by the hammer that is the United States. You guys can all forget about Cold Lake. You can all be happy about this recent moon mission and everything that Cold Lake was involved in and the Canadian astronaut. Oh, it's all great. And they just toured Ottawa. Oh boy, this is really great. That all just ended as of 2 hours ago today. Completely finito, over. You are all Chinese in mass majority supporters, and you want to fuse Canada to China against the United States. Where do you think we're going? We're losing NORAD, 86-year-old agreement, oldest military fusion agreement of Canada and USA in any world history. That is the most solid one ever built. It's foundational of Canada. If you're willing to let that go, as USA just suspending that declaration, that military treaty, you've lost all control of the North. The entire Crown lands and all that, through all of it, is no longer in Canadian hands, because Canadians put that in the hands of the communist Chinese. Share this video. It's undeniable. It's breaking news, but really quiet. You'll barely see a clip of it, CTV. But I assure you, on the government of the United States websites, this is action that's happened. This is the end of Canada and the imminent destruction of NORAD. If you don't know that that's going to go ripples across NATO too, you're sadly mistaken. We are in big, big trouble, because when we don't have those security and military alliances with USA anymore, there's only one answer from that point forward that all Americans must make. How do we deal with this country on our most northern border, most largest worldwide unsecured border? How do we deal with these people who are deadly against us and completely pro-China, and China against the United States militarily. Where is Congress going to go? Where are all the branches of U.S. government going to go? I can't make this stuff up. It's an I told you so of epic scale, but to be living it in my lifetime and going through it, I get the same shock load that I hope all of you are getting, because this is massive destruction of Canada as we've ever known it to be. And the scales of crazy are going epically higher at uncontrollable rates. Losing NORAD has so many implications, so much negative outcome for Canada that's not easily fixed. We're finito here, people. We're rapidly ascending to a new system of soon, I don't even think we'll be allowed to visit the United States. I think border closures for Canadians will be coming in the next 3 to 4 years. That's what I see. I'll put it to you this way. I bet you before Mark Carney ends his full term of office, we're no longer allowed to visit the United States at the rate we're going. If things don't turn around, if we don't get this party off the ground, that's where we're going to be. And you're going to find that all of a sudden, superimpositions of removal of complete charter rights are systemic and absolute right across this country. Rights you thought you had that were protected are completely gone. And why? Only America ensured that with American, Canadian, and UK treaties over Canada. When USA starts ripping them up and saying, nope, that one's gone, that one's gone, that one's gone, not only does that change relations epically between Canada and US, it changes the government's position with all Canadian subjects and their defined savage Indians under the Indian Act. Everything with your Canadian regime that was held back by relations with USA and USA's measures of law and interpretation, when those disappear, you really get to see what your country is, because now they go, we don't have to follow any of that anymore. That pesky NORAD, that pesky NATO, these other 13 US, UK treaties, they didn't mean anything. Now we can beat the living shit out of all of you. There will be no dissension. There will be no nothing. There will be no democracy that you look to USA and say, well, we're a democracy like USA. No, because USA is being removed from the Canadian narrative. USA is removing itself at an epic pace, turning you from treasured brother, sister in arms to enemies at the gate. That's what's happening. Losing NORAD is an absolute destruction of Canada-US relations going forward, with massive ripples in Canada-USA NATO affiliations too. That's going to be next. Can't make this stuff up, but you just keep on elbows up, and you just keep, Alberta separatists, you go to UCP, go, Daniel Smith's great, Comrade Daniel Smith is just perfect, so is Comrade Carney. Everything's going to be okay. Transition to communism, it's going to work out just great. You'll see, China's going to do everything America wouldn't. Wow, you people are completely gone in mass majority. I don't mean friends and followers, obviously, but those in the public where this video has to go. You have to share. You have to wake people up. Get them to look it up. It's official. As of 2 hours ago. Happened during my video, my last video. Completely accurate. I gave you May 16th, 2025. I show you May 16th, 2026. Wow. Our presentation that Canada wouldn't allow go. And what does Alberta do? Implements everything we said not to do. Everything we wanted to make a deal with USA on. The economic case. And they went opposite. Daniel Smith is not your friend. She's your enemy, especially for Albertans. And Ontarians, you're going to pay the ultimate price every single time. I tried to fly a kite across the Niagara Falls, trying to find that. Well, Donald Trump says, you might as well forget that because I'm nuking PRESCOTT, OGDENZBURG Bridge. That's over. That treaty's gone. Canada's been removed. There's no kite to fly now because the bridge is getting demoed. It's coming, Canadians. You have no idea what your government's doing to you. Pain, Mark Carney says, pain under authoritarian rule, like Venezuela, like Iran. These countries used to be normal. I'm a boxer. I boxed for many years of my life. I had dreams when I was young. Of course, I didn't make it, but I'll tell you something. There's a fight, Muhammad Ali, and it's all through the 70s. And it was the Ken Norton, Muhammad Ali, 3 bouts. And of course, between all that, they were contenders. It was Ali's comeback. He was a contender. This is early 70s, 72 to 74 to 76, final Ali versus Norton fight. But during that period, there was a monster who held the belt. His name was George Foreman, young 20-year-old George Foreman, went through his early 20s, just beating down every single person. And folks, why I bring this up is because it's the Rumble in the Jungle, all of that. Historic, monumental win from an aged Ali who defeats George Foreman. In fact, knocks him out in the 8th round. Goes on to have Kenny Norton, number 3, in where? Venezuela. And you can look at all the countries around the world, all of these epic world boxing matches, greatest boxing matches of all time, watching an aging, middle-aged coming man fight right tooth and nail and smart fighting because his body doesn't work and all that. It's made so many movies. It's been a staple of America. But what's the cool thing about everywhere all these fights occurred, Rumble in the Jungle, Norton 2 in Venezuela, it showcases all these now, today, completely corrupted, crazy regimes that at the time of these epic 3 bouts and the monumental George Foreman reign of terror and all these bouts they had all over the world, is that those countries were normal. You get to see the most beautiful Venezuela, upper middle class, everyday Joe Janes, just doing terrific. That was the height of all the success of places like Iran, so many countries of Africa, Venezuela. The people had the power. They were democratic. Everything was going good. And what did they do? Post that era, they went down the toilet, just like Canada is. They were propagated by their government. No, USA is evil. Trust us. We're going to smash USA. We're going to use the Soviet Union, Communist China. Don't worry. It's going to be excellent. Their lives were never, ever as good during the Ken Norton Ali era and the George Foreman Ali era. Those countries would never, ever be the same. Why? Because they went and made transitions like all you Canadians are making. And that's a Polaroid of Canada in time. That's a Polaroid of Canada 10 years ago. You don't see the little changes over time. You're starting to feel it. Canadians are, well, we're feeling this. This isn't like when I was a kid with my parents. Man, this is really bad. And you don't understand that it can get tremendously worse. You can look at Caracas, Venezuela, when Ali Norton fought their second fight. Look at all the people in the stands. Look at how they're dressed. Look at the smiles on their faces, those Latinos, at the height of their middle class success with a minimal corrupted government following democratic processes. You would never, ever see a snapshot Polaroid of those fans in Venezuela then. You'd never, ever see that again as they slowly went down the toilet. More and more hate on America, more and more government drummed up baloney, where it was actually the government getting more corrupt, more autocratic, making newer and worse laws against the people, painting the United States as an enemy. And USA moved out. They moved all their stuff out. They let these countries do their self-determination, aka march themselves right back into autocracy after being liberated post-World War II. You know, things like the Ogdensburg Declaration and military agreement, the PTG agreement between Canada and USA, monumental things like that that all of a sudden get ripped up, and we're going, oh, Trump's a bad guy. Why would he rip that up? Why would you make a binding MOU where you're going to give all that of your critical minerals, all of your ports, all of your nuclear to China? Why would you do that? Their civil and their military are fused. Everyone knows this. This happened to Venezuela. This happened to Iran with Russia, former Soviet Union, and Communist China. Is their lives better now than they were even in the 70s or 60s? Or are they much, much terribly worse? The answer is terribly worse. Everything the government told them was a lie. All the propaganda that CBC's pumping out, Global, CTV, the rest of them, is the same propaganda instituted against all those people in those countries for this alignment with these communist autocratic regimes against USA. And they went into the worst world situation they've ever been in. Venezuela's kind of coming back out. It's 500-1 right now with USA intervention. But Canada, why would you ever want to go that route? When you look at all the examples before you, why is this your marching orders? Why are you so heavily influenced by Communist China? How did you go from 20 years ago, nearly 19 years ago, swearing against the Conservative Party of Canada in an 87 percentile, hell no, no China FIPA deal, don't bring communism into Canada? They did it anyway. And here we are so many years later, now Canadians are polled in 70% saying, yeah, China, yeah, China. Alberta signs an MOU for a pipeline to China. Alberta's like, yay, we're going to teach USA a lesson. Teach USA a lesson? You know you sound exactly like Venezuelans and Iranians. They can't blame their own government for the reason why their quality of life has deteriorated so much. They keep pointing south, saying, it's somebody else's fault. Government good, somebody else's fault. No, blame everybody except my government who makes all these laws against me, not any foreign government or any NGO. Oh, but it's the NGO's fault. Did they make the legislation in your province or in your country? No, they don't. Your governments do. You've allowed your governments to do this to you, no different than Iran and Venezuela, who are in the worst ever predicament these countries have ever been in. Venezuela's trying to climb out. Will this time the people learn their lesson, or are they going to quickly get fixed and go back on? That's why Trump says you probably go back to where you were because you don't have a constitution in place to limit that. That's why he posts Venezuela the 51st state. Now we're on the path of destruction. You were presented with the ultimate gift, the cherished 51st state. Canadians chose to elbows up, we love China, we hate America, march towards the Iranian-Venezuelan truth. And now Trump says, okay, hey, I gave you the fair, best business offer I could because I care. But now you want the mean America, the America that responds to threats for the benefit of the American people. Now you're going to get a right hand, a left hand, a baseball bat, a gun, right? They'll escalate it. Whatever escalation you're going to do, USA will trump you 10 times over. If you think this started with Donald J. Trump or it's going to end with Donald J. Trump, that's America forever and a day. It's its entire history. Americans fight for freedom. That's not a slogan. That's a truth. And Canada's about to become the next major Rolodex. They're rolling through. They'll finish Iran. They're going to keep up with all of these changes between USA and Canada. But then they're going to finish off Cuba. And then they're going to come focus on you full-time, Canada. And Canadians are going to be going, what the hell? And by then it's too late. You've already given Mark Carney your majority. It's like a Maduro. It's like a Supreme Leader reality. It's over. These transitions are going to be forced upon you. Look, all the premiers are in bed with it. The critical ones, the 7 out of 10, they're on board with it. Danielle Smith just did the biggest betrayal of the United States seen out of any premier ever over all of this with this Canada-USA push. This is irrevocable damage. And if this isn't turned around, that pipeline isn't canceled, if that uranium enrichment system isn't canceled, USA is going to have no choice but to beat the living shit out of Canadians, their economy, their system, everything. Wipe you down into a puddle on the floor. If you don't understand that, you are ignoring world reality. Iran is twice the country Canada is, and they're getting their ass handed to them. Twice the country Canada is. Do you know how much USA supply and value chains they must utilize to move that major military that far away, to stage all that in a foreign environment? You don't think that a Canada half the size on their northern border isn't a way easier system to set up in destructive force, in blockades? Oh yeah, they'll get you. They'll get you bad, and much, much easier. You think if it only took them these months to basically neutralize Iran, now it's just a waiting game, a starvation economic waiting game that they can't win. Iran's going to lose. What do you think would happen to Canada? How many weeks would it take? Folks, wake up before it's too late, because the economic damage is irreversible. It can be done in a year, over a year's time, the damage, but the reclaim rebuild is many, many decades away, if ever achievable. If ever achievable. It certainly won't ever be achievable as Canada, the country. That's why we do Canada the 51st state. But the longer this goes on, the worse and worse our position's going to be. That's what America does. They set the stage that, okay, we give you this offer as you are now, but over time, your capacity to negotiate and do things are going to get less and less and less, and USA's gets more and more and more. Like I said, you can go on your own terms, which is absolutely the best way, or you can go on their terms, which is not a good way. Canada may not even look like it does today, not even remotely close. People don't understand that, especially with the loss of Norad. What do you think that means for all those unpopulated lands, crown lands? Whose are those? Are they Canada's? Are they Canada's? If there's no NORAD, are they Canada's lands? If there's no Canadian military there, and your excuse is we transplanted some Inuit out of their traditional areas, we put some of them here, some of them there, and we put a flag of Canada in the ground, that's ours. But we have no installations, no nothing, no infrastructure, nothing, but we call it all ours. There's no people there of any real population. Whose is it? Because I can guarantee you, if there's no NORAD and USA has to defend that plane, they're going to start building institutions. They're going to implement all kinds of infrastructure, and there's going to be a new flag there. It's called America. That's not yours anymore, Canada. You have to be able to defend that. You have to justify it. Where's your population? No, it's okay, Canadians. You can stay in your limited private property, that line along the American border where Canadians and First Peoples largely within 100 kilometers of it. Think about that. That's a mass amount of your country open for whoever who can control it. There's no NORAD, no NATO. What's Canada's claim? How are they going to enforce it? It was cool when they could enforce it with the United States. But what do you do when you're not with the United States? And the United States go, well, we got Alaska there. We have a military. We can make all kinds of installations, infrastructure. Hell, we can start moving Americans who want to try the new frontier from Alaska. Yeah, we can build trains, infrastructure. We can do all that Canada can. Hey, look at all our new resources. We don't need those pesky Canadians in that private property remainder called Canada, actual Canada. Yeah, things can get mighty, mighty worse. We could be negotiating from a less than anything position, less than nothing position, begging. And that's often the case. That's my video. Share. Breaking news, undeniable. It's right in front of your face. You're losing NORAD. Your Canadian government has been removed from the board that established NORAD, meaning Canada doesn't have a say over NORAD anymore, which means, is NORAD even Canadian? How's that going to work? And this is done by the Pentagon, the American military-industrial complex. Not a small move, a damaging, devastating blow on U.S.-Canada relations forevermore. Reality, wake up. Share, get it out there. Don't be part of the problem, be the solution. And remember, Big Brother's watching, USA's watching everything. Wake up.